Graph and table of quadratic function, something that comes up in your exam pretty often, and they are good points to get, good marks. A company launches a new phone. The company's profit each year will depend on the number of phones it produces X. The company's profit for the first year can be modeled by the function, and we are given function. Now, what kind of function it is? Quadratic. Why? Because it has x to the power of 2, where px is the profit for the first year in millions of euro, and x is the number of phones in tens of thousands it produces in the first year, where value of x is between 0 and 7. So before we go on solving the question, let's first understand that this value here, that is what? Profit, isn't it? So we can say profit. Now, profit will be expressed in euros, will equal minus 1.5 multiply, and x is what? Number of phones, so number of phones. And that is taken to the power of 2 plus 10.5, again multiply, and again we have x, which means number of phones, and then minus 4. Don't forget, every function question is about x and y values. So in this case, my x values represent number of phones, and y value represent profit, meaning number of euro. Okay, so let's see what we have to do here. So first thing, we have to find that. And in order to find the p bracket 0, I have to understand what it is. So as with every function question, don't forget, very often it's about x and y values. So for example, they give you value of x, therefore they ask you about value of y, or they will be asking you about the value of x, therefore they will give you value of y. So what does that mean? Did they give us the value of x or y? So normally we have what? X in bracket, but now instead of that x in bracket, we have 0. So that means when x is 0, we are looking what? For the value of y. So how do we do that? We just replace x with 0. So if I replace x with 0, that will be minus 1.5 multiply, instead of x, we put 0 to the power of 2 plus, and then we have 10.5, and again, that is multiplied by x, but instead of x, we put 0 minus 4. We put all of that in the calculator, we press equal, and we get that that is minus 4. So what does that mean? So first thing we did find, and now we have to do the second thing, give an explanation what that means in the context of the question. So in the context of what? Number of phones that are produced and the profit that the company make, because that's what this question is about. So when x is 0, meaning when 0 phones are produced, what happened to the profit? Is minus 4. Now, when profit is minus, what do we have? We have a loss. So when 0 phone is produced, the loss is 4, and in this case, millions of euro. Okay, and then the next part, we have to do the table, and then after we have the table, we have to do the graph. So for the table, we go to our calculator, we put our function. Don't forget, your calculator will say usually f of x, and then we put our function. Make sure you know how to put that x in your calculator. Usually is with alpha, you have to press alpha, and then there is a red button x, and again, usually that x is above a sign with a bracket. So we put that in, then the next thing calculator will ask sometimes about the second function. But if we don't have second function, as we don't have here, we press equal, and then the calculator will ask about the x values. So first it will say, at what point do you want to start? So we put 0, we want to start at 0, and then it will ask at what point you want to end, and this time we want to end at 7. And then it will say, well, how much do you want to step every time between those values of x? And here we can see we are stepping what? 1. We press equal, and then we get the table. So our numbers should be minus 4 for 0, 11 for 2, 14 for 3, 14 for 4, 5 for 6, and minus 4 for 7. And then we have to plot those numbers. So 0 value of x, minus 4 value of y, then 1 for x, 5. So it will be in between exactly 4 and 6. Then 2 has 11, again in between 10 and 12. 3 has 14, 4 has 14, 5 has 11 again, 6 have 5, and 7 has minus 4. Now, when we join the dots, we have to remember that this is quadratic equation. We do not have a straight line. It is a curve, isn't it? So we're going to have our little curve there, and then we have our function drawn. Okay, and then the next part of the question is saying use your graph on the previous page, that's the one, to estimate the range of values of x. So they are looking for the value of x. So what do they tell us about the value of y? For which the company will have profit, that's my y here, of at least 6 million. And we have to show our work on the graph. So we are given y. So first of all, we're going to mark for y being 6. And once we hit the graph, that goes down here. And then we go again because we're going to have the second value here. Again, the graph hits and we go down. So to estimate, this value here should be about 1.1 and this value here about 5.8. So x is in between those two values here. Now, the reason why we are putting equal, because they are saying at least 6. So that means at that point, we're going to have at least 6.